Captain Elena Vasquez stared at the massive wreckage floating in the dark space ahead of her ship. The twisted metal and strange crystals sparkled against the distant stars like broken jewelry. This was her job now. Clean up the mess that other aliens left behind after their wars. The bridge of her salvage ship reclaimer was quiet, except for the soft hum of life support systems. Her crew of 12 humans worked at their stations, checking sensors and preparing the cutting tools they would need. Elena had been doing this work for 15 years. She knew the routine by heart. "Captain, we're getting some weird readings from that big piece over there," said Tommy Chen, her sensor operator. He was young, maybe 25, with quick hands and sharper eyes. "It's not like the usual junk we find." Elena walked over to look at his screen. The readings made her frown. Most alien wreckage was dead metal and burned circuits. This piece was different. It still had power running through it somehow. "Jackson, what do you think?" she called to her chief engineer. Jackson Morrison was a big man with grease under his fingernails and gray hair tied back in a ponytail. Everyone called him Wrench. He had fixed more alien technology than anyone else in human space. If it was broken, Wrench could make it work again. Wrench studied the readings and whistled low. "That's not normal salvage, Captain. That thing is still alive inside. Look at these power levels. I've never seen anything like it." Elena felt a familiar excitement in her chest. After 300 years of first contact, humans had found their place in the galaxy. They were the cleanup crew. The advanced aliens fought their wars with weapons that could crack planets in half. When the fighting was over, they called humans to clean up the dangerous wreckage. Most aliens thought humans were primitive. They had faster ships, stronger weapons, and technology that seemed like magic. But they all had one problem. When their fancy technology broke, they couldn't fix it. They would just throw it away and build new stuff. Humans were different. They could take broken alien technology and make it work again. Sometimes they made it work better than before. The aliens thought this was useful but not very impressive. They paid humans to do the dangerous salvage work that their own people wouldn't risk. "Send out the probe," Elena ordered. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The small robot flew toward the wreckage, its cameras sending back pictures to the main screen. What they saw made everyone on the bridge stop working and stare. The wreckage was huge, much bigger than Elena had thought at first. It stretched for almost a kilometer and looked like it had once been a warship. But not from any species she recognized. The metal was dark and smooth, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. "Captain," said Dr. Kenji Nakamura, their science officer. He was a thin man with thick glasses who studied alien technology. "This design doesn't match anything in our databases. The power source appears to be some kind of quantum generator. The energy output is incredible." "How incredible?" Elena asked. "Incredible enough to power a small city for 100 years, Kenji replied. His voice was excited but nervous. "This technology is far beyond anything we've seen before." Elena thought about their situation. They were in the Broken World sector, a graveyard of ancient battlefields. The Galactic Concordat had given humans permission to salvage here, because the work was too dangerous for most species. The area was full of unstable technology and radiation fields that could kill you if you weren't careful. But the pay was good, and Elena's crew needed the money. Human colonies were always struggling to buy the advanced technology they needed from alien traders. Salvage work was one of the few ways humans could earn enough credits to survive in the galaxy. "Tommy, check for any Concordat ships in the area," Elena said. "We need to make sure we're alone." The Galactic Concordat was the government that ruled most of the galaxy. It was made up of the most advanced alien species. They had strict rules about salvage work. Humans could take broken technology and sell it for scrap, but anything too advanced had to be turned over to Concordat scientists. "All clear, Captain," Tommy reported. "No ships within 3 light days." Elena made her decision. "We're going aboard." Wrench picked 3 people for the salvage team. Everyone else stay sharp. If this thing is still powered, there might be automated defenses. An hour later, Elena floated through space in her environmental suit, following Wrench toward the alien wreckage. The ship's hull had a huge hole blown in its side, big enough for their shuttle to fly through. Inside, emergency lights flickered along the corridors like dying fireflies. The ship was obviously very old. Dust covered everything, and some sections had been sealed off by emergency barriers. But the technology still worked. Lights responded to their presence and doors opened when they approached. "This is amazing," Wrench said over the comm system. His voice was full of wonder. "Look at these control panels. I can't read the writing, but the design is beautiful. Everything connects to everything else. It's like the whole ship is one big machine." They made their way deeper into the vessel, following the power readings toward what seemed to be the main reactor. The corridors were built for beings about the same size as humans, but the proportions were slightly different. Wider doorways, lower ceilings. "Captain, you need to see this," called Maria Santos, one of the salvage specialists. She was standing in front of a large chamber filled with strange crystalline structures. Elena joined her and gasped. The chamber was enormous, stretching up several decks. In the center was a column of pure energy, contained within a lattice of crystal and metal. It pulsed with a soft blue light that made her skin tingle. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It's more than beautiful," Wrench said, checking his instruments. "It's impossible. This reactor design violates half the laws of physics I know. But it works. After what looks like thousands of years, it still works." Kenji's voice crackled over the comm from the ship. "Captain, I'm detecting massive data storage systems throughout the vessel. The computer cores are still active. This ship contains more information than our entire database back home." Elena felt her heart racing. This was the find of a lifetime. The technology on this ship could change everything for humanity. But she also knew the rules. Anything this advanced belonged to the Concordat. "Wrench, how long would it take to cut out some of the smaller systems?" she asked. "Captain, we can't just take pieces," Wrench replied. "This technology is integrated. Everything depends on everything else. It's like trying to take the engine out of a living animal." Elena stared at the energy column and made a decision that would change human history. "Then we take the whole ship." "Captain?" Maria sounded shocked. "We can't hide something this big. The Concordat will find out." "Maybe," Elena said. "But look around you. This technology could give humanity a real chance in the galaxy. We've been cleaning up after other species for 3 centuries. Maybe it's time we stopped being the janitors and became something more." She opened a channel to her ship. "Tommy, plot a course to the Kepler system. Find us an asteroid field where we can hide something big. We're bringing this whole ship home." As her crew prepared to move the ancient vessel, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they had found something important, something that the universe had been waiting for humans to discover. The aliens thought humans were primitive and useful only for dangerous work. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 months later, the ancient alien ship sat hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kepler system. Elena had called in favors from every human contact she had. Engineers, scientists, and technicians arrived quietly from colonies across human space. They all came with the same dream: to understand technology that could change their species' future. The work was dangerous and slow. The alien ship systems were unlike anything humans had encountered before. Most alien technology was specialized. Each piece did one job and did it well. This ship was different. Every system connected to every other system in ways that seemed impossible. Wrench had set up his workshop in what used to be the ship's engine room. Tools and equipment covered every surface. He worked 18 hours a day, trying to understand how the alien technology functioned. His hands were always dirty, and his eyes were red from staring at incomprehensible displays. "The more I learn about this ship, the more confused I get," he told Elena during one of their evening meetings. "It's like the aliens who built it thought completely differently than any species we know." Dr. Nakamura had been studying the ship's computer systems. He looked tired but excited as he shared his discoveries. "Captain, I think I know what happened to the original crew. This ship belonged to something called the Hegemony. They were incredibly advanced, but they vanished about 1,000 years ago." Elena leaned forward in her chair. They were meeting in the ship's conference room, which they had converted into their command center. Charts and technical drawings covered the walls. "Vanished how?" "That's the mystery," Kenji replied. "According to the ship's records, the Hegemony controlled most of the galaxy. They had technology that makes current alien civilizations look primitive. But then they just disappeared. No wars, no disasters. They simply left." "Left for where?" asked Maria Santos. She had become their expert on the ship's defensive systems. "Unknown. But here's the interesting part. They left their technology behind deliberately. This ship and others like it were placed in specific locations around the galaxy, almost like they were waiting for someone to find them." Wrench wiped his hands on a dirty rag and shook his head. "But why hasn't anyone claimed this stuff before?" The Concordat has had 1,000 years to find these ships. Kenji pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans from different alien species. I think I know why. The hegemony built their technology to interface directly with biological minds, but not just any minds. They needed consciousness patterns that were flexible and adaptable. Elena studied the brain scans. She could see the differences between species. The crystalline Vorthak had rigid geometric thought patterns. The energy-based ethereals showed flowing but predictable neural activity. Other aliens displayed similar patterns of specialized thinking. Most alien species are locked into their evolutionary programming, Kenji continued. They're very good at what they evolved to do, but they can't easily adapt to think in new ways. Humans are different. Our brains are remarkably plastic. We can learn to think like other species when we need to. Elena felt a chill of excitement. You're saying this technology was designed for minds like ours? Not designed for humans specifically, Kenji clarified, but designed for any species capable of true adaptability. The hegemony built their systems to work with flexible consciousness. That's why other aliens couldn't make it function properly. Over the following weeks, the human team made breakthrough after breakthrough. The ship's nanotechnology could rebuild and improve itself, but only when guided by an adaptable mind. The weapon systems could evolve during combat, learning from each engagement. The engines could travel faster than light in ways that current physics said were impossible. But the most important discovery came when Wrench accidentally interfaced directly with the ship's main computer. He had been working on a control panel when a power surge sent electricity through his tools. Instead of being electrocuted, Wrench found his mind suddenly connected to the ship's consciousness. For several terrifying seconds, he experienced the vessel as a living entity. It's not just a ship, he told Elena afterward, his hands still shaking. It's alive somehow. Not biological, but aware. And it's been waiting for someone who could understand it. Elena made the decision to attempt a full interface. Despite the risks, she allowed Kenji to modify the ship's neural connection system for human use. The process was dangerous. Previous attempts by other species had resulted in brain damage or death. But when Elena connected her mind to the ship's systems, something amazing happened. Instead of overwhelming her consciousness, the technology adapted to work with her human thought patterns. She could feel the ship's systems responding to her will, changing and improving themselves based on her needs. I can see everything, she told her crew through the neural link. The ship's entire structure, every system, every possibility for improvement. And it wants to grow. It wants to become something better. Under Elena's guidance, the ship began to transform. The hegemony technology merged with human engineering principles. Redundant systems appeared where none had existed before. Backup systems gained their own backup systems. The ship became something that could function even when everything went wrong. The transformation accelerated beyond their control. The ship's nanotechnology began incorporating parts of their salvage vessel, merging human and alien technology into something entirely new. Control panels redesigned themselves to be more intuitive for human use. The corridors widened to accommodate human proportions. Captain, the power levels are increasing exponentially, Tommy reported from his sensor station. If this continues, the Concordat will detect us from 3 systems away. Elena knew he was right. They had hidden in the asteroid field to avoid detection, but the ship was becoming too powerful to remain concealed. Soon they would have to face the consequences of their discovery. But as she felt the ship's consciousness merging with her own, Elena realized they had found something far more important than advanced technology. They had found proof that humans belonged among the stars not as servants or cleanup crews, but as inheritors of the galaxy's greatest civilization. The ship's computer core revealed more secrets daily. The hegemony had not built just one vessel like this. Dozens of similar ships waited in hidden locations throughout the galaxy. Each one was a test, a challenge left behind for whatever species proved capable of true growth and adaptation. The hegemony didn't vanish, Elena realized during one of her deep interface sessions. They evolved beyond physical existence, but they left their technology behind as a gift. A gift for any species wise enough and flexible enough to use it properly. Wrench looked up from his work, tools forgotten in his hands. You're saying they wanted someone to find this stuff? More than that? Elena replied. They were testing us, all of us. Every species in the galaxy. waiting to see who would prove worthy of inheriting their legacy. As the ship continued its transformation, Elena knew they were running out of time. The energy signatures were becoming too large to hide. Soon the Galactic Concordat would come looking for the source of the mysterious power readings. But Elena was no longer afraid. The ship was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. A perfect fusion of ancient hegemony wisdom and human adaptability. Whatever came next, humanity would face it with technology that could grow, learn, and evolve. The aliens who had dismissed humans as primitive janitors were about to learn a very important lesson. Sometimes the species you underestimate are the ones who change everything. The transformed ship now called itself the Phoenix. Elena could feel its new name in her mind when she interfaced with its systems. The vessel had grown beyond anything the original hegemony builders had imagined. Where once there had been a single damaged warship, now there was something that defied classification. The ship's nanotechnology had consumed the entire asteroid they had hidden inside. It used the raw materials to build new sections, new weapons, new capabilities that emerged from the fusion of human creativity and hegemony engineering. The Phoenix was now over 2 kilometers long and bristled with systems that seemed to think for themselves. "Captain, we've got a problem," Tommy called from his station. "Long-range sensors are picking up a Concordat investigation fleet. 6 ships, including a Vorthak crystal cutter. They're heading straight for us." Elena felt the ship's reaction through their neural link. The Phoenix was eager for its first real test. Its weapons systems hummed with anticipation, already calculating targeting solutions and defensive strategies. But Elena forced herself to think calmly. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 18 hours at their current speed, Tommy replied. Wrench looked up from his workstation, his face grim. "Captain, we're not ready for a fight. Half these systems are still adapting. We don't even know what all our weapons do yet." "Maybe we don't need to fight," Elena said. "Maybe we can talk to them." Dr. Nakamura shook his head. "The Concordat doesn't negotiate with salvage crews who steal advanced technology. They'll demand we surrender the ship and submit to interrogation. When they realize what we found, they'll claim it for themselves." Elena knew he was right. The Galactic Concordat had clear rules about technology recovery. Anything beyond basic salvage belonged to the advanced species who governed the galaxy. Humans were allowed to collect scrap metal and broken components, but not functional warships with impossible capabilities. Through her link with the ship, Elena could sense the approach of the Concordat fleet. The Phoenix analyzed their ships automatically, cataloging weapons, shields, and potential weaknesses. What it found was not encouraging. The lead ship was a Vorthak crystal cutter, a vessel designed to slice through asteroids and space stations with focused energy beams. Behind it came 2 ethereal phase ships that could exist partially outside normal space. 3 more vessels from different Concordat species completed the fleet. "Captain," Maria called from the weapons station. "The ship is showing me targeting data for all 6 vessels. It wants to engage them." Elena felt the ship's eagerness through their connection. The Phoenix had been built for war, and its hegemony programming urged it to defend itself against threats. But Elena's human instincts urged caution. "Not yet," she told the ship through their mental link. "Let me try to reason with them first." When the Concordat fleet arrived at the edge of the system, they immediately detected the massive energy signature of the hidden vessel. The lead ship broadcast a standard challenge on all frequencies. "Unknown vessel, this is Concordat Investigation Fleet 7. You're operating in violation of salvage protocols. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Elena opened a communication channel. "Concordat Fleet, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human salvage vessel Reclaimer. We are conducting legal salvage operations under our authorized permits." The response came quickly. "Captain Vasquez, our sensors indicate you possess technology far beyond authorized salvage parameters. You will surrender the vessel immediately and submit to interrogation." Elena felt anger rising in her chest. Centuries of being treated as second-class citizens had left their mark on every human in the galaxy. They were good enough to do dangerous work that other species wouldn't risk, but not good enough to keep the rewards of their labor. "Negative, Concordat Fleet," Elena replied. "This technology was abandoned and unclaimed. Under salvage law, it belongs to the crew that recovered it." "Salvage law does not apply to hegemony technology," came the sharp reply. "Such artifacts are the property of the Galactic Concordat. You have 10 minutes to comply." Through her link with the Phoenix, Elena felt the ship's systems coming online. Weapons that had slept for 1,000 years awakened and began charging. Shields that could bend space itself shimmered into existence. The vessel's consciousness touched her mind with a simple message. They were ready. "What are your orders, Captain?" Wrench asked quietly. Elena looked around the bridge at her crew. These 12 humans had risked everything to give their species a chance at something better. They had worked for months to understand and improve technology beyond their wildest dreams. Now the galaxy's ruling powers wanted to take it away simply because humans weren't considered worthy. "Tommy, open a channel to all human colonies," Elena ordered. "I want everyone to hear this." When the channel was open, Elena spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez speaking to all humans in the galaxy. For 300 years, we have served as the cleanup crew for alien wars. We have risked our lives salvaging dangerous technology, while more advanced species look down on us as primitive and expendable." She paused, feeling the ship's power flowing through their connection. "Today that changes. We have found something that proves humans belong among the stars not as servants, but as equals. The Galactic Concordat wants to take this discovery from us because they believe we are not worthy of advanced technology." The Concordat fleet was moving closer, their weapons beginning to charge. Elena could see the tactical display in her mind, showing the approaching vessels and their capabilities. "They are wrong," Elena continued. "Today, humanity takes its place among the galaxy's great civilizations. Today, we show the universe what humans can accomplish when we refuse to accept limitations." She closed the channel and looked at her crew. "All hands prepare for combat. Let's show them what the ultimate war machine looks like when it's built by humans." The battle began when the Vorthak crystal cutter fired its main weapon. The focused energy beam should have sliced the Phoenix in half. Instead, the ship's adaptive shields absorbed the energy and fed it back into their own power systems. The Phoenix responded with weapons that had never existed before. Projectiles that phased through enemy shields, energy beams that adapted to penetrate any defense, and nanomachine swarms that could dismantle enemy vessels from the inside. But the ship's greatest advantage was not its technology. It was the human crew that guided its actions. Where alien species would have followed predictable combat patterns, the humans fought dirty. They used the asteroid field as cover, turned the enemy's weapons against each other, and employed tactics that no military academy had ever taught. The ethereal phase ships tried to escape into dimensional space, but the Phoenix followed them, its hegemony technology allowing it to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Vorthak crystal cutter attempted to ram them, but the ship's nanotechnology simply absorbed the collision and incorporated the enemy vessel's materials into its own structure. Within an hour, the entire Concordat fleet was destroyed or absorbed. The Phoenix had grown larger and more powerful with each victory, its systems learning and adapting from every engagement. As Elena surveyed the aftermath through the ship's sensors, she realized they had crossed a line from which there was no return. The galaxy would never again see humans as harmless scavengers. They had just announced their presence in the most dramatic way possible. "Captain," Tommy said quietly, "we're receiving transmissions from human colonies across the sector. They're asking what happens next." Elena smiled as she felt the ship's consciousness merging more completely with her own. The Phoenix was no longer just a vessel. It had become the symbol of humanity's refusal to accept the limitations others placed on them. "Tell them to get ready," Elena said. "The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you underestimate the species you've been using as janitors for 3 centuries. Through her link with the ship, Elena could sense other hegemony vessels responding to their awakening. Across the galaxy, ancient technology was stirring in response to the Phoenix's call. The test was over. Humanity had proven worthy of the inheritance waiting among the stars. The news of the Concordat fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy, faster than light-speed communication. Within days, every major civilization knew that humans had somehow acquired technology capable of defeating 6 advanced warships without taking damage. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Elena stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, watching dozens of ships appear on their long-range sensors. The Galactic Concordat had mobilized everything they had: crystal cutters from the Vorthak homeworld, phase dreadnoughts from the Ethereal Collective, and massive battleships from a dozen other species. "Captain, I count 47 vessels incoming," Tommy reported, his voice tense. "This is the largest military fleet assembled in over a century. Through her neural link with the ship, Elena could feel the Phoenix analyzing each vessel, cataloging their weapons and defenses. The ship's consciousness was calm, almost eager. It had learned much from their first battle and was ready to learn more. They're scared, Elena realized. The Concordat has ruled the galaxy for so long that they've forgotten what it's like to face a real challenge. Dr. Nakamura looked up from his console, where he had been monitoring communications between the approaching ships. Captain, they're not just planning to destroy us. I'm intercepting orders to glass every human colony in this sector. They want to make an example. Elena felt cold anger fill her chest. The aliens were willing to commit genocide, rather than accept that humans had found something they couldn't control. 300 years of being treated as expendable labor had not been enough. Now they wanted to eliminate humanity entirely. Wrench, how many of those other hegemony ships have awakened? She asked. 17 so far. Wrench replied, checking the readings from his engineering station. They're scattered across the galaxy, but they're all responding to our signal. The nearest one is about 6 hours away. Elena made her decision. Send a message to every human colony, station, and ship in the galaxy. Tell them to evacuate immediately. Get everyone to the Outer Rim territories where the Concordat can't reach them easily. Captain, Maria said from the weapons station, the ship is asking permission to engage the enemy fleet. It wants to protect human civilians. Elena felt the Phoenix's protective instincts through their link. The ship had bonded with humanity in ways that went beyond simple technology. It saw humans as more than just operators or crew. They were partners in a relationship that benefited both species. Not yet, Elena told the ship. Let them come to us. Let them make the first move so the galaxy sees who started this war. The Concordat fleet arrived in formation, their weapons charged and ready. The lead ship was a massive Vorthak crystal fortress, a vessel so large it had its own gravity field. Its commander opened a communication channel immediately. Human vessel, you have committed acts of war against the Galactic Concordat. Surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. Elena opened a channel that broadcast to the entire galaxy. Every civilized world would hear her response. Concordat fleet, this is Captain Elena Vasquez. You have threatened genocide against human civilians who had nothing to do with our discovery. We will not surrender to murderers. The Vorthak commander's response was filled with contempt. You are insects who have found a weapon you cannot understand. We will remove it from your primitive hands and ensure you never threaten galactic stability again. Galactic stability? Elena repeated. You mean your control over species you consider inferior. Today, that control ends. The battle began when the Crystal Fortress fired every weapon it had. Energy beams, missile salvos, and exotic matter projectiles filled the space where the Phoenix had been floating. But the ship was no longer there. Using hegemony dimensional technology, the Phoenix had shifted partially out of normal space. It appeared behind the enemy fleet, its weapons already firing. But these were not the same weapons that had destroyed the investigation fleet. The ship had learned. Its nanotechnology had incorporated materials and designs from the destroyed Concordat vessels. Now it fired weapons that adapted in real time to counter enemy defenses. Shields that had protected alien ships for centuries crumbled under the assault. The Phoenix didn't fight like any vessel the Concordat had encountered before. It used human tactics, unpredictable, creative, and absolutely ruthless. The ship would appear from impossible angles, strike with devastating precision, then vanish before the enemy could respond. As the battle raged, Elena felt the ship growing stronger. Each destroyed enemy vessel provided new materials and technologies to incorporate. The Phoenix was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history, a perfect fusion of ancient wisdom and human adaptability. But the Concordat fleet was not helpless. Their commanders began to adapt their tactics, trying to corner the elusive human ship. Ethereal phase vessels attempted to trap the Phoenix in dimensional space, while Vorthak crystal cutters fired spread patterns to limit its movement options. The turning point came when 3 more hegemony vessels arrived to join the battle. Ancient dreadnoughts that had slept for 1,000 years awakened under human guidance. Each ship was crewed by volunteers from different human colonies, their minds linked to the alien technology through neural interfaces. The Concordat fleet found itself facing not one impossible vessel, but 4. Each ship fought with the same unpredictable human tactics, adapting and evolving with every engagement. The aliens' superior numbers meant nothing against opponents who could learn faster than they could adapt. Elena watched through the ship's sensors as the battle turned into a rout. Concordat vessels that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were being systematically dismantled by technology they couldn't understand, guided by minds they had dismissed as primitive. "Captain," Tommy called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from 12 enemy vessels. They're asking for mercy." Elena felt the ship's bloodlust through their link. The Phoenix wanted to finish what the Concordat had started, but Elena's human compassion overrode the vessel's aggressive instincts. "Accept their surrender," she ordered. "Disable their weapons and let them go. We're not conquerors." As the surviving Concordat ships limped away, Elena opened a galaxy-wide communication channel. Every civilized world would hear her words. "People of the galaxy," she began, "today you have witnessed the end of an era. For too long, the Galactic Concordat has ruled through fear and control, deciding which species deserve advanced technology and which must serve as laborers." She paused, feeling the power of 4 hegemony vessels flowing through their shared link. "Humanity offers a different path. We offer partnership instead of domination, growth instead of stagnation, adaptation instead of rigid control." Elena's voice carried across the galaxy as she continued. "The hegemony left their technology as a test to find species capable of true evolution, not just advancement. Today, humanity passed that test, but we will not use this power as the Concordat did." Through her link with the Phoenix, Elena could sense other awakening vessels throughout the galaxy. The ancient technology was responding to humanity's call, offering itself to any species willing to embrace change and growth. To those who wish to evolve beyond the limitations of the past, humanity extends an invitation. Learn to adapt as we have learned. Grow beyond what you were designed to be. The galaxy has room for many different forms of life, but no room for those who would suppress the growth of others. As Elena closed the communication channel, she felt the ship's satisfaction through their neural link. The Phoenix had become more than a war machine. It had become a symbol of humanity's refusal to accept the limitations others placed on them. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of Concordat control was ending, and a new era of possibility was beginning. An era where advancement came not from hoarding technology, but from the courage to change and grow. Elena smiled as she felt 17 more hegemony vessels awakening across the galaxy, each one seeking a crew brave enough to embrace evolution. The ultimate war machine was not a single ship, but the human capacity for endless adaptation and growth. The test was over. Humanity had won. 5 years after the Battle of Kepler, the galaxy looked very different from the one Elena had known as a salvage captain. She stood on the observation deck of the Phoenix, watching construction ships work on humanity's first major shipyard. The facility floated in space near the outer rim colonies where humans had built their new home. The shipyard was not like anything the old Galactic Concordat would have recognized. Instead of rigid, specialized construction bays, it was a living thing. Hegemony nanotechnology had merged with human engineering principles to create a facility that could adapt to build any type of vessel imaginable. "Captain, we've got visitors," Tommy announced from the bridge. Even after 5 years, her old crew still called her captain, though Elena now held a much more important title. Elena made her way to the bridge where the main screen showed 3 ships approaching. One was clearly human in design, but enhanced with hegemony technology. The other 2 were alien vessels, but unlike any she had seen before. "Those are modified Zephyrian traders," Dr. Nakamura observed, studying the sensor readings, "but they've incorporated adaptive technology. Their hulls are reshaping themselves as we watch." Elena smiled. The Zephyrians had been one of the first alien species to accept humanity's invitation to evolve. Their natural telepathic abilities had made them excellent candidates for neural interface technology. Now they worked alongside humans to explore the possibilities of hegemony science. "Open a channel," Elena ordered. The main screen lit up with 3 different faces. The human captain she recognized as David Park, one of the volunteers who had taken command of an awakened hegemony vessel. The Zephyrian was Speaker Vithal, whose people had abandoned their homeworld to join the growing coalition of evolved species. The third face belonged to a being Elena had never seen before. "Captain Vasquez," David said, using her old title with obvious respect. "We've completed the survey of the Andromeda region. The results are better than we hoped. Elena leaned forward with interest.
How many dormant sites did you find?
17 confirmed hegemony installations, Speaker Vithal replied, her telepathic voice carrying harmonics that normal speech could not achieve. Each one intact and waiting for activation. But more importantly, we found evidence of other precursor civilizations. The unknown alien spoke for the first time. Its voice was translated by the ship's computer, but Elena could hear musical undertones that suggested a complex auditory language. I am High Singer Morthek of the Resonance Union. My people have awakened. 3 of our ancient installations using principles we learned from humanity. Elena felt a surge of pride through her link with the Phoenix. This was what they had hoped for when they first offered partnership to the galaxy, not just humans using hegemony technology, but all species learning to transcend their original limitations. The hegemony weren't the only ones who left technology behind, Elena realized. Other advanced civilizations did the same thing. Exactly, David confirmed. It appears the galaxy has gone through cycles of advancement and transcendence. Each time the ascending species leave behind tools and tests for those who come after. Elena walked to the large display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas still controlled by the remnants of the old Concordat. Yellow zones showed neutral territories where various species struggled to adapt to the new reality. Green zones indicated regions where the new coalition had established peaceful cooperation. The green zones were growing larger every month. What about Concordat resistance? Elena asked. Speaker Vithal's expression darkened. The Vorthak Crystal Lords continued to attack any ship carrying adaptive technology. They have formed an alliance with several species who refuse to abandon the old ways. Elena nodded. She had expected this. Not everyone would embrace change willingly. Some species preferred the rigid structure of the old Concordat, where everyone knew their place in the hierarchy. They're afraid, Elena said. For thousands of years they've defined themselves by their technological superiority. The idea that any species can evolve beyond their current limitations terrifies them. Through her link with the Phoenix, Elena could sense the locations of all the awakened hegemony vessels. 23 ships now served under human command, each one crewed by volunteers from Earth's colonies. But more importantly, 47 vessels had awakened under the guidance of other species. The transformation had spread far beyond humanity. Alien civilizations that had been dismissed as primitive by the Concordat were now operating technology that surpassed anything the galaxy's former rulers possessed. Captain, Wrench called from his engineering station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Elena felt a familiar tightness in her chest. Despite all their victories, Earth remained vulnerable to Concordat attack. The old homeworld was too important symbolically for the former rulers to ignore. Put it through, Elena ordered. The screen changed to show Admiral Sarah Chen, Tommy's older sister who now commanded Earth's defense forces. Her expression was grim but determined. Elena, we've got a situation. A Concordat battle fleet is massing in the Tau Ceti system. Intelligence suggests they're planning a direct assault on Earth. Elena felt the Phoenix respond to her emotional spike through their neural link. The ship's weapons systems came online automatically, ready to defend humanity's birth world. How many ships? Elena asked. 237 vessels, Sarah replied. They've pulled forces from across their remaining territory. This is their attempt to end the revolution by destroying its symbol. Elena looked around the bridge at her crew. These same people had started this transformation 5 years ago, when they discovered the alien wreckage. Now they faced the ultimate test of everything they had built. Signal all awakened vessels, Elena ordered. Human and alien alike. It's time to show the galaxy what evolution really means. Over the next week, ships converged on the Sol system from across the galaxy. Not just the awakened hegemony vessels, but hundreds of modified ships from dozens of species. Zephyrian telepathic cruisers that could coordinate flawlessly in battle. Resonance Union vessels that use sound itself as a weapon. Former Concordat species who had abandoned their rigid ways to embrace adaptation. Elena stood on the bridge of the Phoenix as the two fleets faced each other in the space between Mars and Jupiter. The Concordat force was impressive. Massive crystal fortresses, phased dreadnoughts, and weapons platforms that could destroy planets. But the Coalition fleet was something entirely new. Ships that could change their configuration during battle. Weapons that learned from every engagement. and crews from different species working together in ways that should have been impossible. "This is Admiral Korthex of the Vorthak Crystal Fleet," came the transmission from the enemy formation. "Humanity has corrupted the natural order with forbidden technology. We will restore stability to the galaxy." Elena opened a channel that would be heard on both fleets and broadcast to every world in human space. "Admiral, the natural order you speak of kept most species in subjugation while a few claimed superiority. We offer something better, the chance for every civilization to reach its full potential." "You offer chaos," the Vorthak commander replied. "Technology should be earned through proper evolution, not stolen from ruins." Elena felt the Phoenix surge with readiness through their neural link. Around them, the Coalition fleet prepared for battle, but Elena hoped it wouldn't come to that. "Admiral, look at your own fleet," Elena said. "Your ships are exactly the same as they were 1,000 years ago. Your weapons, your tactics, even your thoughts follow patterns set by your ancestors. Is that truly living, or is it just repeating the past?" She gestured to the Coalition fleet around them. "Every ship here is different. Every crew has found new ways to grow beyond what they were originally designed to be. This is what the hegemony left for us. Not just advanced technology, but the courage to become something more." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The Concordat fought with rigid precision, following battle plans that had worked for millennia. The Coalition fought with creativity and adaptation, each ship responding to the battle in its own unique way. Elena watched through the Phoenix's sensors as the tide of battle turned. One by one, Concordat vessels either surrendered or were disabled by weapons that evolved faster than their defenses could adapt. The war ended not with destruction, but with transformation. As Concordat crews saw what their opponents had become, many abandoned their ships to join the Coalition. They wanted to learn how to grow beyond their limitations. Years later, Elena would look back on that day as the moment the galaxy truly changed, not because one side defeated another, but because enough beings chose evolution over stagnation. The ultimate war machine had never been the Phoenix or any single vessel. It had been the human idea that anything could be improved, that no limitation was permanent, and that growth was always possible. The galaxy belonged to those brave enough to change. And Elena was proud that humanity had shown them the way.